Ну, нам просто...
All right. They said 12:05 for the start time, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's all just stand up and pray. Lord, we are thankful for this opportunity to be here at this conference. Lord, we ask that you bless everybody here, every student, every teacher, every helper, everybody that's involved into making this conference, for it to be for the glory of your name. Lord, we ask that in this topic that you bless our hearts, that you open our hearts to listening, to learning, to being actively engaged, and to becoming better teachers. Lord, none of us are perfect, but we are striving to be better equipped, better educated, so that we could teach our teenagers, so we could teach our kids in this very, very challenging time that we live in. Lord, once again, we ask for your blessing and let your name be glorified. Amen. Okay, we are going to start our lesson. These workshops are pretty short. They are only about 45 minutes. Every workshop is going to be a little bit different. This one, you notice I'm not giving you any printouts or anything like that. I do this on purpose. I personally find it a little bit of a distraction when people are constantly flipping pages. So if you want to take notes, you're more than free, take notes, but you're not going to get like a printout of here's everything and don't pay attention, just walk away. And, I tend to not like that. My name is Max. I have been in teen ministry actively for about 12 years, to where I started a teen ministry that was outside of Sunday school in our church, if that makes sense. And then recently that kind of got migrated, and currently I do teens in Sunday school, so their programs, their classes, and then the program that is outside of your typical Sunday class. And that's what I do at this church. Been doing that for 12 years, for the last 12 years. So before we get started, any questions or expectations for this class? Perfect. When we talk about technology in teens, or technology in general, do you think that people get in general a negative vibe or a positive vibe when we hear technology and mixing technology in a learning environment, or church for that matter? Both. Okay. Yeah, it does depend. I think the majority of the people, however, are leaning more towards the negative. And you will find there's a lot of people that will say, we don't need technology. Technology, there's so many bad things that it causes. And in a way, they're right. But let me ask you, who in here has an Android or an iPhone? Almost everyone. Who in here can live their life in a modern world today and avoid technology? Practically no one. So whether you like it or not, you realize it or not, technology does make its way into our lives and in the lives of your students, your teenagers, and your kids. And you as a teacher are going to be faced with the decision is, do you involve technology in your classrooms? But also what I want to focus on today even more is technology has affected the generation that is growing up, and it will continue to affect every generation. I don't necessarily want to focus on the negative sides. We will cover them just a little bit at the end. I do want to focus on the 3 positive aspects of technology. There's a reason why people are so drawn to technology. There's a reason why none of you have a flip phone. Do you have one?
I used to try to keep up with the old phones, but they just stopped making them and manufacturing.
So it's good that you mentioned that. My dad had a flip phone. He still does. I brought him an iPhone. I said, Dad, here's an iPhone. Just take it. It's yours. And he looked at it and he said, well, I don't want it. I go, why not? He goes, it doesn't even have any buttons. I go, that's the point. Everything's a button. And then recently, he got a message that says, your phone will be disconnected whether you like it or not. The carrier will no longer support that phone. And we called them up and I said, hey, do you even make a flip phone that is supported in the new technology? And they said, yeah, there's only one. I said, can you send us that one? And they're like, yeah. So he still has one, but a lot of the older ones, they won't even work even if you wanted. And there are, what I'm trying to say is there are a lot of good things in technology that draw people to it, and we could take those good things, learn from it, and apply it to our classrooms. There's a lot of surveys done about technology and phones and specifically. If I were to ask you what percentage of teenagers in the United States have a smartphone, where would you guess that number would end up?
99.9%.
Okay.
8%.
I'd say 50.
Okay.
More than 95.
Oh, who said 95? Yep, 95%. 95% of the teens in the United States have a smartphone. I did a lesson here with our teens about, not this lesson specifically, but about technology, and I did a survey with them. At New Life Missionary Church, about 93% of teens have a smartphone. I bet you that if a couple people didn't show up and a couple other people showed up, this number could be more like 99%. The people that did not have a smartphone, I asked them, how do you communicate? And they go, social media. I go, but you don't have a smartphone. And they go, yeah, but I have an account and I have ways to get access to a smartphone. And I go, so you don't have a smartphone, but yet people are still using the platforms that require internet and technology for access. And when I said, how many of you communicate through technology, you have a form of a social media, guess how many people responded with a positive? 100%. 100% of teens had a social media platform that they use of some sort. Whether it was Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever it may be, at least every person had at least one. And I would encourage for you guys to do something similar in your church. Just do a basic, like a questionnaire. How many kids versus how many teens have smartphones in your classes? You're going to be surprised by these numbers. Kids do have smartphones. All these numbers right here, they are numbers in the United States. So 8 to 12-year-olds, 4 hours and 44 minutes is the average time that an 8 to 12-year-old spends on screen time. Screen time includes messaging, screen time includes social media, screen time includes movies and things of that nature. This number does not include screen time for schoolwork. I think all of you are thinking, well, that number's high because of school. When they did this research, they specifically eliminated the hours that are spent on schoolwork. Teens average 7 hours and 22 minutes. 7 hours and 22 minutes a day. Texting, Instagram, Facebooks, and things of that sort. When I got my group of teens together, I said, I need some volunteers. We're going to do a test. Sure enough, I got like 6 or 8 volunteers. And I told them, all right, everybody open up your phones. And they did. And I told them, go to the settings. And I told them where to go to check their screen time. And as soon as they realized where we were going, guess what they did? They cleared the history. It's because they were all shocked at how high their numbers was. Who do you think uses more screen time, boys or girls?
Girls. Okay, now that's not a mean, but
No, I mean, it's not a mean answer. It's there's only 2 options, right? In a world where there's endless genders, there's still only 2 options. Boys or girls? Who do you think?
girls usually have more friends.
Okay, so all the boys are saying girls, and we have one girl here. What do you think?
I say boys.
I'd say girls.
Girls. Girls by far spend more time on screen time than boys. By far. In all of my classes where, let's say something were to pop up like a distraction and it's because of technology, 3 out of 4 are girls, and it's usually 2 or 3 of them. And I would say 90% of the time, it's either Snapchat or Instagram. With boys, when they get distracted on their phone and I walk up and I see what they're doing on their phone, I would say 90% of the time, boys, what is it?
I don't know,
Game. 90% of the time, they're playing a game. Whether it's church, whether it's in a class, whether they're walking in a hallway and they're on their phone. Next time you see a teenager in your church and it's a boy and you walk and they're on their phone and you peek over their shoulder, 90% chance they're going to be playing a game. If it's a girl, it's going to be something on a social media platform. Statistically proven, and I find the same results here at our church. Top 3 social media services: YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat. My guess is TikTok is probably going to crawl up there.
I think it already.
It might have already have. It might have kicked Snapchat out. But what is so important? What is the 3 out of these top 3 social media platforms? What is the one thing that they have in common? It's on the screen. It's not a trick question. They all use algorithms. All of the top ranking technology platforms from social media use algorithms. Why do you think so? Yes?
Because it makes more dopamine in your brain.
Okay. So,
algorithms.
okay, so an algorithm is, see, I did YouTube for a little bit and I got to know algorithms a little bit better. What an algorithm is, it is a computer program that tries to build a profile of who you are. And next time you go on YouTube, versus you searching something, YouTube says, you logged on, and I have some suggestions for you. An algorithm is it's constantly evolving to better suggest content specifically designed for you, to keep you engaged in videos longer, to keep you engaged on a platform longer, to increase revenue. Algorithm is a tool to sell you for more money. When I started my YouTube videos, after a certain amount of time, you will get a report. And that report breaks it down and it says age groups, and it says this age group watches your video for 10% of the video. This age group watches your video for 80% of the video. If you target this age group, you are going to make more money. It also tells me at what point the majority of people quit watching your video, and you could make a couple decisions. Either your videos need to be shorter, or you need to realize what during that moment of the video has lost interest. Algorithms are constantly evolving. Matter of fact, we'll get into this a little bit later, but they did a study on algorithms, and what they realized is that nowadays, when you think you're going to go on YouTube and watch a video, more and more, it actually happens that you did not actually search for that video. It's YouTube that recommended that video for you. So if you think you have a video that says, I want to know how to replace a water pump on my vehicle, and you watch that video, what YouTube does is it saves that to your profile. And next time you log on, they're going to remember your age, they're going to remember what make and model and what year of the car that you were searching for, and they're going to start suggesting videos based on your watch history. And that is an algorithm. Top 3 platforms all practice this. So these are the three major lessons that I want to focus on this class. Is number one, media allows very quick and direct access to information. That is going to be our first slide when we go through this. The reason, or one of the reasons I should say, that people are so drawn to using technology and having technology in their pocket is that it allows us to get very quick and direct access to information. If you want to find out where the nearest restaurant is, you take your phone out and you search it. You no longer ask the people walking around, hey, are you from this area? What would you recommend? What's better? That takes more time. People don't want to do that anymore. They want quick and direct access to information. That is a takeaway that we can apply to our Sunday school classes, and we will get to that. Number two is media forms a personalized approach. That is where those algorithms take place. Is any social media platform is going to want to tailor what they have to offer to specifically you. Everything gets saved as much as they can, and they tailor their programs to you. And number three is that media affects our values and beliefs. Whether you like it or not, you deny it or not, but it does. Multiple studies have been over decades that those people that spend time watching certain shows of a certain nature, over time, that starts to affect how their mind accepts certain things. Okay, so number one, information at our fingertips. Students and teens, they should feel confident to find information in Scripture. Before this class, I did a couple just Google searches in general. Let's say like a very general question, what is the meaning of life? Your teenager might have this question. What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose? Why did God create me? What am I supposed to achieve on planet Earth? If you Google this, does someone want to take a guess how many results Google will give you?
Really? 2 million?
9,780,000,000 search results in 0.48 seconds on what is the meaning of life. If Google can give you almost 10 billion options to look at what is the meaning of life, and they're ready to present that information in 0.48 seconds, you as a Sunday school teacher, if your student walked in and they said, Max, lately I've been struggling, and I'm not really sure how God wants to even use me. I'm not sure why I'm even living this life. How many answers are you ready to give them? How many answers are you ready to give them in 0.48 seconds?
Let me Google this.
Right? We're not Google. We don't have 9 billion different answers. But where I'm going with this is that teenagers, kids these days, and the generations after them, they're so used to finding an answer so quick. I'm not saying that answer is correct. I'm not saying it's wrong either. But they're used to wanting information at their fingertips like this. So when you as a teacher get a lesson prepared, you should be able to deliver that information. It should be clear, it should be informative, it should be organized and with a purpose. Have you ever heard a sermon for 45 minutes where after that sermon you're like, I don't know what that guy was talking about? I think we all have. As a teenager, their mind works the same way. They're thinking, I just walked into a Sunday school class. My teacher spoke for an hour. I don't know what your schedules in your churches are like. And I did not understand a single thing. Or I did not come out with a single clear answer on the questions that I had. It is a lesson that you can learn from what social media and search engines can offer is help your students get to clear answers. Be prepared for your topics. If you don't know the answer, tell them straight up, I don't know. I will research this, and next class, I will get back to you with an answer. When you do get back with an answer, make sure it is a clear answer. If it takes more than 10 minutes to explain an answer, it is not a clear answer. A teenager does not want to listen for a 5-10 minute explanation. I hate to break it to you, they don't. They just want things real quick. Another thing I searched, how to get to heaven. Kid you not, guess how many results Google is willing to give you on how to get to heaven?
11 billion.
No, less than what is the meaning of life. 792 million. So, if in all our classes, our major goal is to get to heaven through a relationship with Jesus Christ, and we're teaching this through the lessons, through the topics, Google is ready to give them 792 million articles, opinions on what it is, or what is the best way to get to heaven. Again, I just want to reiterate where I'm going with this. Is there so much information out there, and it is at their fingertips. And you as a teacher and I as a teacher am competing with that. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I've had topics that I've discussed with the teens, and I remember one of them researching, it's like, well, I remember searching this, and it said this. And I go, no, that ain't true. And within like 10 seconds later, I was like, oh, I just found it on Google. They can find information. They can challenge what you are wanting to teach them or what you are wanting for them to believe or accept. And they can find challenges to the information that you are giving them within seconds. Within seconds. If you're telling them that the only way to heaven is through Jesus, they can find you millions of arguments within seconds of why that is not the only way. So you as a teacher, you need to make sure that the information that you're presenting is, like I said, informative, organized, backed up by scripture. You are ready to, in a way, I should say, defend your lesson if you were ever to get challenged. You can see I put on there Matthew 7:7. Matthew 7:7 talks about the ask, seek, and knock. The verse goes like this: ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you shall find it. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. I'm going to rip this verse a little bit out of context. Any teenager that walks into your class, or kid for that matter, if they ask, it is your duty to answer. It is your duty to find that answer. Don't be that person that says, I don't know, and never gets back to it. Try to avoid to be that person. Go talk to your parents. Go talk to a pastor. Go talk to someone else. If they came to you and they asked you, there's a reason for it. Don't ever forget that. There's a reason they didn't ask their parents. There's a reason they didn't go to someone else, but they chose you. And they're wanting you to give them that answer. If they are seeking something, if you notice that your kid has more of a general question in a wider spec of things, not just something, hey, how can you explain this scripture? Something bigger than that. Make sure that you deliver that to them. Make sure that you show them the path. Make sure that you show them how to get to what they are looking for. Again, they're asking you for a reason. Yes?
Question. What if there is no answer? What if they ask you and you don't have an answer? And you can do your research and you still don't have an answer?
I've never ran into something where...
I can ask a couple of questions that you would have no answers to.
Okay. If you run into... I've had a couple situations where they asked answers that what the right answer was, I did not want to give them because they were going through something in their life, and it was suicide, and I knew it. All of those situations, I'm not going to be the person that's going to give you step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. In those cases, the first thing, anytime, okay, let's, on this specific, it was a suicide matter. The first thing I did is I got a team of people. I got another deacon and I got another pastor, and we said, this person is what they're going through, and we need to start tackling this approach of answering their questions from this different perspectives. I think what you're saying, the answers that you're not going to have an answer to.
You just have to tell them. I just don't know. I think you have to be also answering.
Yeah, a golden rule when I first started teen ministries, they told me, never make something up. So if you do your research and you can't find it, I would suggest at the minimum, point them to someone who you trust might be able to answer that question for them. If that person doesn't want a specific, they came to you for a reason, and they don't want to open up to a pastor maybe. See if you can make that question into a topic and invite a guest, unknowing to that person that asked you that question. I've had questions that students asked, and in the past, I was like, I'm not sure how to answer. There's different perspectives. Even different families in the church see things differently. And sometimes you as a teacher could have an opinion, and that's not wrong. And if you feel uncomfortable of answering something where you think, this is a subject that could be split, even within your church, invite someone from like a deacon or a pastor or even your Sunday school director, and let them tackle it. Let them take that responsibility off your shoulders. I always tell teachers, from different departments, I said, I got this going on and this going on. And go, okay, what is your Sunday school director? Are they helping you with this? Well, no, well, they're there for a reason. Make him busy. Make him busy. I don't know if I answered your question fully, but if you don't know,
I'm just
get a
saying,
team.
in a sense, we have to be careful also, because there's sometimes an argument comes around when you don't have an answer, because the question is, there is no answer to it. We cannot have, because we're humans, we're limited in our abilities, and then we try to answer it, or we try to shut down the questioner.
Yeah, don't shut down the questionnaire, yeah.
At the same time, because you feel challenged because as a teacher you're an authoritative figure, and you can come with the expectation to have all the answers, but you cannot have all the answers.
Yeah.
So in that sense, say, you do not have an answer, I'll look into it, you can ask other people, but at the same time, you have to be able to be willing to be humble enough to say it, there is just no answer in these things. We just...
Yeah, you said a very interesting phrase is sometimes they're truly asking you a question, and sometimes the question is just meant to challenge you as a teacher. And that's a fine line where you have to realize that, okay, if someone is just wanting to challenge your authority in class versus someone having a legitimate, a question that they want to get an answer to. Yeah, you had a question.
So I've had kids ask me those kind of questions.
Yeah.
Like one time, so I just told them to ask God when they get to heaven.
Ask God.
And they get satisfied with that.
Okay. I'm not sure if we need to ask God questions when we get to heaven, but let me put it this way. I don't know what the question was. If one thing I do want you to remember this is don't brush off questions. If they're coming to you, there's a reason why they're coming to you, and that is a good thing. If they're coming to you with questions, that is a good thing. Try your best. If you can't answer it, see if you can find someone else. And if you or that someone else can't answer it, then, unfortunately, sometimes you will leave it at that. Sometimes you can answer a question only halfway. Sometimes you might give them an answer and tell them, this is an opinion. I can't prove this by fact, but this is opinion. And this is where the church stands on this question. You can answer things sometimes that way also. Okay? Our time is flying. Number 2, personalized approach. Most popular, we already talked about the algorithms. Your classrooms need to have a personalized approach. I know it's hard sometimes. How big are your classrooms, by the way? Who has more than 30 kids in their class? Who has more than 20? 15? Okay, it's about 15. Okay. The biggest class I ever had was 35. That was on our Wednesdays Bible studies. Our Sunday school classes, they are smaller. I think, in my opinion, after 15, 20, it gets hard. It gets very hard. But regardless of the size of your class, I think we need to do our best to make a personalized approach. Who knows what the brand Cadbury is? I think you've all seen it. It's a brand of chocolate. They sell it at like Target. At one point, Cadbury said, we have this chocolate, we're selling this chocolate, but how can we promote this chocolate so we can make more money without putting it into more sales locations? And they had a very smart person on their team, and they said, we will use social media, and we will personalize our chocolate. And now we will offer our chocolate as a personalized item, and let's see what the results will be. Here's what they did. They took a bunch of Facebook profiles where there was access to age, location, and your interests. And they built these profiles. And then they had a computer with algorithms. And that computer spit out videos promoting a flavor of chocolate based on your age, location, and interests. And what they did is they took those videos and they sent them to your Facebook profile. What they found is that 90% of the people that opened the video watched it till the end. Till the end. And 12% of them even shared it with their family. And their sales skyrocketed. Did the chocolate change? No. Was the chocolate on sale? No. The only thing they changed is they created a personalized approach on what they were offering. You are offering a topic, a lesson, an idea every Sunday or every other Sunday. You have to find creative ways how to personalize that approach. Another way that another company did was quizzes. There's a company out there called Eneco. And what they advertise is green energy. And they advertise electrifying the country and electrifying the world. And they said, well, how can we personalize or market our company to create more traffic and revenue? And they said, listen, we're going to do social media. And we're going to use Google. And what they did is they created a quiz with a simple questions. How much would it cost to install an electric charger in my home? It's free. It was quick. Took less than a minute to complete. And they paid Facebook and they paid Google to advertise their quiz. When people took that quiz, the search engine, whatever, automatically saved your information, and they sent it or sold it to Eneco. Eneco then took that information and they built profiles. And they started targeting those people with highly targeted emails and ad campaigns to your email addresses, to your social media that would pop up. Here's a discount on this. Here's a discount. And they said that, I think it was what they were expecting the results, it exceeded their results fivefold. The only reason was the approach was personalized. When they came to a customer, it wasn't just, hi, we're Eneco, we are an energy company that would like to offer you this and this. No, it was like, hey, we know you live here and here and here, and we can get this done for $1,500 because of where you are. When a human mind realizes that the approach is more personable to them, it has been proven that that person is more likely to react to it. So if you can find a creative way to somehow personalize content in your classes, you are going to find that you are more effective. You can even do like a quiz in the beginning of your school year. And you can say, you don't even tell them what this quiz is for. You could have 10 questions. And you could say, write your name on it. Here's 10 questions, answer them honestly. And then we're going to guess the identity of this person. It's like an icebreaker quiz in the beginning of the year, right? And you're guessing who this person is. But later, off of those quizzes, you as a teacher could build a profile for your students. And then throughout the year, when you are presenting a topic, you can call on Vlad or Arthur or whoever, and you can bring up something personable that they like without them knowing. They'll forget that they did the quiz. But you're going to bring up something that they can relate to. Even when you give gifts, right? You can say, what is your favorite flavor of chocolate? And then when you award, let's say you award chocolates in your classes. And you can come to Arthur and say, hey, Arthur, hey, I bought you, hazelnut. And he says, how'd you know? You've built a profile for your students. It's just a simple way. I think it's a little bit harder for like a standard Sunday school where you kind of rotate students most likely every year. I think what I do on my Wednesdays is I take my teenagers from 13 and I take them all the way up to youth. So it's a little bit easier in that aspect where I get to know, who they are, what they like, get to know their parents, where they live, and habits and things like that. So that personalized factor is probably easier to achieve if you can take students from year 1, year 2, year 3 and take them through Sunday school versus getting fresh people every year. But regardless on how your church operates, find a tool to personalize the approach. And do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to change your teaching style throughout the year. I've had Sunday school students that I know there's a Sunday school program and they have, lesson 1 and blah, 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 and so on. And I'd walk into a class and I'd go, hey, how come you're not using the book? And I go, it's not working. I'm so sorry. I go, no, don't be sorry. If it ain't working, you as a teacher realized it ain't working. And you've changed it. Here's one advice I will give you. If you change something, don't just change it in your class. Speak to your Sunday school director. Communicate that. This is not working. This is what is working in my class. Because chances are, if it ain't working in your class, it ain't working in the class next door. Do not be afraid to modify the program. I think I took over the Sunday school part last year. The first thing we did as I sat down my teachers and I said, which one of you follows the Sunday school program given to you? Guess how many of them did? None. 0. I said, how come? And I said, it ain't working. I said, did you communicate that to someone? Well, kind of and kind of not. Our program this year is different from what it is last year because I saw things I did not like last year. Don't be afraid to change. Okay? Last one. Last one is values. When TVs first came out, I was kind of blown away at the amount of research that was done on how television was affecting us humans, not just the young generation. I was just blown away at the number of research that was thrown out there. And what was very interesting is that a very high majority of the research concluded that if a person was more lenient to watching a certain category of movies, let's say those movies were about, either there was war or crime or something like that, statistically, they found a direct relation connected to crime of that nature. If you watched over an extended period of time movies where, let's say, abuse or rape was viewed as okay, statistically, when those people were questioned, their moral approach to those items or to those actions was not as bad as you would imagine. Our minds are programmed in such a way, if we see things being accepted on a longer period of time, our mind starts to think that those things are more okay than what I used to believe. Social media affects our values. Now, does social media in its own do it? No, social media does not have a brain. There are organizations and people behind it that use media as ways to affect your values. A very good example of that, political campaigns. They want you to believe that something or someone is good and those things that he's running on are good or bad. They will use social media over and over and over, and they will bring people into those ads that are saying this is okay and this is right. And the belief or the idea behind that is, if you watch something over and over again, and if you see that more people are accepting a certain thing or idea, that the average human being is slowly going to start accepting that item. It's kind of like, what a very popular example of boiling a frog. You throw a frog in hot water, it ain't going to work. If you boil a frog, you slowly turn up the temperature, frog doesn't jump out, it just dies. And this is the idea behind that social media is used to affect our values. And we find this look at the amount of school shootings that we have. They're through the roof. Why were they not there at this rate before? Where did the moral belief value? What changed? What changed? And I'm sure you'll find a direct correlation that goes back to gaming and movies and things of that nature. You as a teacher and I as a teacher also have a responsibility, because you can affect the values of your students. You can change what your students believe. You can change what your students value. And who heard of cultivation theory? Look it up whenever you get a chance. The whole thing on cultivation theory is that little by little, you expose a generation to an idea and you cultivate a generation that it's going to think the way that you want them to think. I think one of the biggest, in somewhat recent history, people that used cultivation theory to a point was Adolf Hitler. He had some very famous quotes about involving the youth. Look it up. He knew if he can get the youth, he could start a revolt. He knew if he could get the youth, he could take control of the country. Same things are being done today on a different scale. People are fed an idea, people are fed a belief, and they are expected that through cultivation theory, we can raise a generation to think the way we want them to think. As a church, we are cultivating the next generation. Who are the cultivators? It's us. It's you. You're not just teaching a lesson and presenting a topic. You're cultivating the next generation. And you can't affect what they believe. I think over there they talked about, he brought the example of how he said something that made no sense, but his grandson, he completely believed it. Remember when I said that when your teens come to you, there's a reason for it? So many of the questions, not maybe public questions that teens ask, but those one-on-one questions, from time to time I ask them, did you ever bring this up with your parents? I would say an overwhelming 100% of the time, it's no, I did not. They're coming to you for a reason. you have the responsibility, you have that power, let me call it power, to change in how they think. And it's a huge responsibility in the church. And if your church trusted you to be a teacher, that's huge. In my opinion, that's huge. And if sometimes I heard this say, oh, it's just a Sunday class, it's just a Sunday school teacher. Absolutely not. Because what you teach in your Sunday class, your kid is going to be more receptive to that and apply that a lot more than most of the time what he hears in the main sermon on Sunday. Just because it's a different approach. Just because you've personalized it. Just because you've gathered the information and you can relate to them and you can give them the information that they are looking for. Some of the mistakes that we make when integrating technology. Never use technology to fill in time. I've only run into a couple times where a teacher says, you know what, I really didn't have time to prepare a lesson today. Here's a good Christian movie. No. Do not ever use technology to fill in gaps in your class because of lack of preparation, okay? I am for using technology, but not as an excuse not to prepare or provide content, okay? And then the second mistake is not utilizing the technology available. I'll give you a good example. We were teaching a class for baptism, and we do this every year. And we just had a PowerPoint, and we break it up into specific lessons, and our pastors and our deacons, and we take turns. And I remember teaching a class, and one of the gals, she was like, I'm so happy there's a PowerPoint. And to me, it's like, well, no, PowerPoint, whatever. It doesn't take a whole lot to prepare a PowerPoint. And they said, but it's so much easier to follow and things like that. And I go, is that something that you want? And the class is like, yeah. And I go, well, how many of the teachers gave you a PowerPoint? And they said, only 2. And that was a learning experience for us. And it said, you know what? If we have a TV that we could put a PowerPoint in every classroom, and our students are saying that it is easier for them to follow along a lesson, why not utilize it? Why are you not doing it? If you have projectors and you don't have TV, why are you not utilizing them? Another thing I started doing is lessons on our Wednesday, we go through characters of the Bible, and we walk through the Bible from A to Z through characters. And then in every lesson, there's a 10-minute video. And 10-minute video, it gives you as a teacher an opportunity to kind of pause, regroup, get your stuff together for the next section. But it also allows your teens to hear a slightly different perspective from a different person, different voice, and it's a visual aid. Use the technology that is available to you. If you don't have videos, make a PowerPoint. If you don't have videos or a PowerPoint, bring a visual aid. I don't know if you guys caught on to yesterday when Peter Pipchenko was asked the question, and he said in every Sunday school class, our teachers are required to bring at least one visual aid. We don't care what it is. He brought the example of cockroaches. He brought the example of mice in a fish tank with a mouse trap. Whatever it is, teenagers and kids alike, that 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes of a visual aid creates a huge change, a little bit of a break in your class. Utilize it, utilize it, utilize it. Do not abuse it and just watch a video because I don't want to talk about this. This person does it way better. So here's a 30-minute video. Don't do that, but utilize short things to just interject in your lessons. Okay, dangers. This is the last thing. We are almost done. Teen depression and suicide. That is a very real thing. It's through the roof. It is through the roof. If we believe that there's no teen depression and there's no thoughts of suicide in the young generation of our kids that were grown up in Christian families, you're lying to yourself. I'm going to tell you that is not true. It happens. I'm not a fan of social media for kids or teenagers, but if you as a parent or a teacher use social media with your kids, whether for announcements or whatever that may be. Use it as a tool. And I'll give you an example. I've personally dealt with 2 situations where 2 persons were dealing with suicide in the church. The way we found out that this was happening is through social media. Someone who's dealing through depression and suicide, they, for some reason, are way more inclined to share that on social media than they are face-to-face. In every case, at least when I was involved, that was the difference maker. We found it on social media, and then you pull this person aside. What is going on in your life? There are huge dangers to social media, and I think us as teachers, we need to also communicate that to our kids. Pick a lesson throughout the year and just spend one lesson talking about the dangers of media, dangers of Facebook and things like that. 2 minutes. And go through it with your kids. Share those things with them, okay? Relationships and social skills. Those get affected by social media also. I had a gentleman recently, he said, "Can I call you?" I said, "Yeah, well, why don't we just meet?" He goes, "I can't do that." "Why not?" I can't. He goes, "I can only talk by phone or through messaging, not face-to-face." "What's going on?" "Fear." He goes, "I only communicate by social media." You might have kids in your class that have that. If you have a quiet kid in your class, he might be battling that fear. Don't rush it. Small steps. Small, tiny, tiny, tiny steps. One thing that I do is anytime there's a new student that shows up to my class, before I walk up to them, I pick a person in my class that I trust, and I tell them, pull them aside, said, without that person seeing, walk up to that boy, walk up to that girl, ask them what their name is, ask them, where they're from, ask them how they're doing, information, and invite them to the next class. If one of your students does that, and then you follow up in the end, chances of that person coming back are way greater than you just presenting the best, most awesome lesson and just hoping that they come back. Because of that, again, personalized approach and building that relationship. Not everybody can build a relationship, okay? Mobile device overuse reduces sleep. I've had kids in the class that are just, I'm constantly tired. I go, "How late did you stay up?" And it's always, I was watching a movie, I was playing games and things like that. Quick piece of advice. If you see a kid in your class that is repeatedly falling asleep or he's tired, talk to their parents. Just simply talk to their parents. Have them manage that. If it's not working out and it keeps happening, talk to their parents. Okay? Time ran over. Time is done. We're out. But any questions? Okay. I think you have about 7 minutes to find the next workshop. Thank you.